Good night. How everyone doing tonight? God is good and God is good all the time. My name is Irma Jill, Spirit is Divine. I'm here to give you a word on tonight, and I know it's late. Um, we still working from Elijah, Book of Elijah. Now we in part 3. Okay, so we gonna start out where we left off at in part 2 at the end. Now we still in Book of Elijah, part 3. We left part 2 where there was no rain. There was no rain. Also, Elijah was looking for Ahab. Remember that at the end. So remember he asked Obadiah to let Ahab know that Elijah is here. Remember he was scared. But now he finally when let Ahab know that Elijah looking for him. So Ahab went to meet Elijah. Now remember, God had Elijah to meet Ahab because he had the people following other gods. They made their own in Babylon and they started worshiping that. And he broke God's commandment. That's one of his own God commandments. Do not serve other gods. And in Israel, the Israelite, he was king over Israelite. And Israel, they already know better. They've been with God for the longest. And they allowed this person to have all of them serving other gods like that. So that's why God had Elijah to look for Ahab in part 2. So now Ahab had abandoned the law of commandment by following Babylon. Now Elijah told them to meet them on Mount Carmel. So he told Ahab get all of them to meet him on the mountain. Now Ahab had 450 prophets serving other gods. So Elijah said, bring them all up on the mountain. Bring them all. So Elijah trying to have them to turn back to God. So God's son Elijah took them to turn them back to God. Because Israelites say it's God's favorite. But they always straight God wrong. When God always saved them. So Elijah trying to turn them back to God. Elijah had two options. Now he about to challenge them. He about to give them a challenge. Now, one he said, if the law is God, follow him. If Babylon is God, follow him. Now see, Elijah about to give them a challenge. Now Elijah letting them know, it's just letting them know that it's just him. Now Elijah letting them know it's just him. He by himself. So y'all have 450 people, and it just Elijah by himself. But he about to challenge them because he know he got a powerful God sitting standing behind him. He know his God is real. He know their God ain't real. So they can have 450 people, 500, they can have whoever they want. But Elijah gonna stand by himself because he know we have standing behind him. So Ahab have 450 prophets, and it's just Elijah. Elijah told them to get two bulls and cut it into pieces. He told them put it under the wood, but do not set fire. You know, so Elijah would do the same. Elijah would do the same thing. Now Elijah told them to call on your God, and Elijah would call on his God. So Elijah let them go first. Now whoever God answer by fire, he is God. So he told them they can go first. So Elijah challenged 450 prophets of Abraham, and he represented that they are false prophets. Now the game about to begin. So Elijah told them to go first. It was many of them, but they calling on their Babylon, but got no response. And it was nighttime was getting them, so they still was calling on their God. Did not answer. Still calling on him. So nighttime getting here, and they still calling their God. They start shouting loud, so now Elijah step in. It's not his turn now, but he just mocking them, teasing them, like, won't y'all talk a little louder? Remember your God will hear you. So he mocking them. He's saying, talk a little louder. Maybe your God will hear you. So he telling them to shout loud. So their God did not answer. So since their God didn't never answer them, guess what this dog doing? Just slicing itself up, slicing their armor, just slicing itself up. Had blood everywhere. Just had blood everywhere. Their God did not respond at all because their God don't exist. So now it's Elijah's turn. So he took 12 stones. He prepared his stuff and told them to fill up jars of water. Then he told them to put the water on top of the offering. He had them to put the water on top of the offering about 3 times. So Elijah started praying. Elijah started praying to his God. And he said, God, you have me doing all this stuff. I need you to help me. I need you to help me. I did everything you told me to do. So he prayed to God. And God came through. Fire burnt up the sacrifice. And so Elijah won the challenge. His God answered and responded. So Elijah had to teach, Elijah had to come up with some kind of game to teach them a lesson that your God do not exist. Your God do not exist. They don't have but only one God. So Elijah won the challenge to let them know that they are false prophets. Now you're never supposed to worship false God. You're never supposed to worship other other things, anything. You can't make up something and just want to bow down and start praising that God. That's why God always said, don't praise your money, don't praise your material things, don't praise none of that. Because sometimes people can get all that stuff and feel like that's more important to them than God. God will never want you to feel like anything else is more important than Him. I don't care how much money you have. I don't care. God is supposed to come before your children, your wife, anybody. God's supposed to come first. So you're never supposed to worship false God. Now Elijah's job was God sent him there to turn the people back to God. Turn the people back to God. Because Ahab had the people just worshiping Babylon, all other kind of stuff, knowing that the God they made up don't exist. He will not respond back to them. You know. So Elijah commanded them to tear everything down. All their false God, the Babylon, all that stuff they were worshiping and bow down to, Elijah had them tear it all down. Tear it all down. Now Elijah told Ahab, go and eat and drink. There sounds of heavy rain. You remember they didn't have no rain. Remember they didn't have no rain. So now they have heavy rain. So Elijah told him, go ahead on and eat and drink. There sounds of heavy rain out there now. So the challenge was to expose them, to let them know they are false prophets. You do not supposed to worship other gods. We worship other gods that cannot respond back to you, that don't exist, cannot help you. You cannot call on. They will not respond to you. You will not fight for you. They call on that God all night long. So they start slicing up their body and stuff. You can't make up something and worship it because it cannot help you. You cannot call it. It will not respond back to you. It will not fight for you. There's only one God. One God can do all that. That's the God we serve. That's the only God you're supposed to serve. You're not supposed to serve no other God. Not your money, your house, none of that. Everything. God's supposed to come before anything. Anything. So they want to worship something that cannot respond back to them, cannot fight for them, cannot hear them, cannot help them at all. You only serve one God. That's the God that we serve. He will hear you. He will respond to you. He will fight for you. He will take care of you. He will provide. No other person, no thing cannot do that for you. Now, we only serve one God. Always remember that, one God. We do not serve other gods. You don't never make up something and start praising that. Don't know, they made up some stuff and start bowing down to it and praising it and start calling it their God. Now, some people call their husband, their boyfriend God. No, no, there's only one God. Only one God. As our God, our Father, anything you want Him to be. He, our Father and God, whatever you want to call it. You know. So, the package was for Elijah to expose them because they're over there worshiping other gods, and God don't like that. So that's why God had Elijah to look for Ahab, to go over there to the Israelites and let him know that, still Elijah just let him know straight up, he played a little game with him first. You know how Jesus always talking parables to teach the own disciple. Well, Elijah like to play games. So still him telling them straight up what God said, he rather play the little game to expose them, and make them look like a fool. You calling out to something that can't even respond back to you. So Elijah wanted to expose them. He wanted to expose that you calling something that cannot respond, cannot help you, cannot fight for you. You know, and sometimes you have to expose some people sometimes to get your point across. Sometimes, that was Elijah's way to get his point across. He could have just went to Ahab and just explained to him what you're doing and you're not supposed to do that. He rather play this game with him to expose them to the truth. So I hope y'all have a blessed night, and always remember we have only one God to serve. Pray to the God in the morning and at night, or anytime you need help. So that's the only God you have to serve. And I have a blessed night, and I see you on the next video.